Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast, Season 2, Episode 3 here today, and I am joined once again by Landon Demarest.
How's it going, guys?
Oh, I'll speak for everybody else. It's going.
Sounds good.
It's going. But so Landon here, guys. Landon Demarest is his @ on most socials. You can find him there. TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff.
Yep.
So make sure to go follow him, and it's great that he's on the podcast with me here. And I just want to say what this podcast main topic is going to be. I like to throw topics before it, and then I like to finish out with the main topic. Yep. So the main topic of this podcast is going to be the Manti documentary. So if you guys haven't watched it yet, I would suggest probably going to watch the 2 1-hour episodes that they have. It's Untold, Manti, the dead girlfriend who didn't exist.
Yes.
So yeah, so it's definitely I'm sure everybody's heard of it. Okay, one way or the other. I'm sure everybody's heard of it at one point. I know I did, and I know I fell into the trap with it. So we'll get into that in here in a little bit. But so that's going to be the main topic, and we're going to talk about a couple other things before it here. So first off, I like to do the sneaker checks. Always do the sneaker checks. So Landon over there has the metallic orange mids.
Correct.
Right there.
Yep.
Show them off for us over there.
So I'm wearing these. I picked them up a while ago. They're pretty nice. They're actually pretty comfortable. What are you wearing?
I am wearing the Royal Toe Jordan 1 highs. So
they're very nice.
I like these. I got these. The story behind it is Abby and I went to SneakerCon in Naperville, Illinois. So just past Chicago. And it was a smaller one, but it was kind of cool because then it was the first time ever going to one of those things.
Right.
And I went in there and I was like, okay, I'm gonna spend $200 to $300 on a pair of shoes.
Yeah, not happening.
It did.
What?
It did happen. Yeah. So what happened is I ended up getting a free T-shirt for doing the most push-ups.
Yep.
Okay, from a company there.
Yep.
And then I got I ended up buying a pair of shorts to match them.
Yep.
So I think they were like $30, which isn't horrible.
Not bad.
So I spent $30 there.
Right.
Obviously buying some drinks here and there as well. So I spent $30 there, won that T-shirt, and then I was like, okay. And I was being very strict about what I wanted, right? So I made like 6 loops around it
right.
before I was like, okay. And I actually came across this pair and one other pair, and I saw the other pair first, and I was thinking about buying them.
Yep.
Okay, I didn't know what the official colorway was on them because I know that they have the Royals, which are like they don't have the white, and then the swoosh is blue also. I don't really care for those ones as much.
No,
I like these.
Yeah.
And so I saw these and I was like, wait a minute, those aren't the Royals, and so I did a little bit of research, found out they were the Royal Toes.
Okay.
And I was like, I like these ones a lot better, and I like to wear my shoes, okay?
Yeah.
I have a few pairs of dead stocks. I think we went over this before.
Yeah.
But I like to wear my shoes. I actually copped a pair of shoes earlier today.
Yep.
Landon saw me do it.
He did.
That's in the future. You guys will see me wear them. Another pair of Jordans because I have an addiction for that. But yeah, I don't know. I really like the sneaker culture and everything with that. So I looked at this one guy was selling them. They were a little bit more. They weren't clean. They weren't really that clean.
Yep.
These ones have slight creases.
Yeah.
Those ones had like mega crease and were worn a little bit. And he wanted $210 for them. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, and brand new. These are like close to 400, I think.
Yep.
At least wherever different places you check. Whatever.
Yeah.
But I was like, all right, let me look around a little bit, and I'll come back if I want it. And I was thinking about doing it I counter offered him with like 190 or something. He goes, nah, 210. I was like, okay, let me think about it. I'll be back.
Right.
Walked around, saw this pair. I was like, oh my gosh, there's another pair. How much you want for them? He goes, 220, and they were cleaner, right, and better looking. I was like, I said, let me think about it. I walked around.
Yep.
Made sure I didn't want anything else, and then ended up going with. I came up to him. I was like 210, and he goes, nah, I can't do it. I was like, 210. Come on. He goes 220. I was like, 210. He goes, let's flip for it. I was like, all right, you got a quarter? And he's like, I don't. And I was like, I don't have a quarter. And so he goes, all right, let's roll with it. And he's like, can I ask Siri? So he grabs his phone. He's like, Siri, flip a coin. I said, tails never fails. It was tails. I got him for 210. So I got the cleaner ones for the same price as the other guy wanted. Them.
Right.
So I don't know. I like them.
Right.
I think they're cool. I've worn them a decent, not too much, probably like 3 or 4 times now
Right.
since I've had them.
Right.
But I like them. I think they're a nice shoe, a nice I really, honestly, out of all the other pairs that I've worn,
Yep.
these are the most comfortable. I don't
Yep.
know what it is about them, but they're super comfortable. So I don't know.
That's how I feel about these ones. So I have the they're like red and blue.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a United States Olympic type colorway that they designed for the Olympics.
A Jordan
or whatever.
1 mid or high?
It's a mid.
Okay.
And these ones are more comfortable than those ones. I feel like they're a little bit tighter on my foot for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I bought these for like $120.
Okay.
Before.
Got them at a retail, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Presuming.
I bought them. Well, I bought them at I think Foot Locker.
Okay.
And Foot Locker, like it was like their last pair, and I was like, sweet. So I picked these up, and they're pretty nice. They're comfy.
Yeah.
Not as comfy as my dude shoes.
Yeah.
Even though those are like cheap or whatever.
Those are the $60 comfort sandals. They do wear down quite easily.
Yeah,
though.
they do wear down,
that.
but like they're cheap.
Yeah.
That's kind of like buying.
They're it's pretty much sandals.
Right.
But
yeah.
that go all around your whole foot.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's a shoe sandal.
Right. Right.
But yeah, no, definitely. So that's cool. I like that colorway on them. I saw you walk in with them. I was like, I like those.
Yeah.
I like those. And just so you guys know, we don't just coordinate this, but I always, or we do coordinate it.
Yeah,
I'm always like, wear a pair of Jordans. If you have other
Right.
ones, bring them. And now this is the second episode he's on. So
Yep.
he wore the infrared Jordan 4s first.
Yep.
Now he's got the metallic orange mids. I like them.
Orange. Yep.
You have a couple others. You said just that one other pair. Or
I
what?
have another pair, but I'm looking into buying another pair.
Okay.
I might go with the
If Landon's on a lot of episodes, he's gonna need to buy some more.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, have you heard the pine green
Yeah,
Jordan ones?
they're expensive.
Those are what I want.
They're expensive.
They are expensive.
I was looking into because I wanted. Abby said I need more color. Okay?
Yeah.
And I was looking. I was like, I like wearing ones that I can wear with everything though.
Right.
Usually,
Right.
like these, I can't really wear with everything.
Yeah.
Definitely the orange ones I can't wear with everything.
Right. Right.
So I'm like, well, I want to kind of just roll with things that I can wear with everything.
Right.
So, but yeah, the pine greens I was looking at because she's like, you need some green, and I'm like, all right.
Right.
So I'm looking and I found those and I was like, these are sweet.
Yeah.
But in my size, particularly, I don't know what size are you.
I'm an 8.
Okay, you might be a little bit cheaper then.
Might be more expensive.
Really?
It really depends.
It really does depend.
It's really weird how that.
I'm
works.
a 9.5, 10 for Jordans ones. I'm usually a 9.5.
Right,
so,
but like for Nike, the Vapor Maxes,
yeah,
I'm like
I have those down there.
Yeah, I'm like a 7.5, 8. It just very
You're smaller.
Yeah, so like I'm an 8 in Jordans, but I can wear a 7.5 in the Nike Vapors.
See, I'm the opposite. For those, I think those down there are 10s.
Really?
I would prefer I got a 10.5 or 11 because
Really?
my foot. Well, I have a fat foot too.
Right.
I would say probably a 10.5 would fit me better in those.
Dang.
And these are 9.5, so it's like a whole size bigger I would
Right.
need for the Vapor Max. It's weird. I don't really wear those. I wore them like 5 times, and then
Right.
they're not comfortable on my fat feet. So these ones are. I like it. But yeah, so there's the sneaker check, guys. Make sure you guys always tune in for those. Those will always be at the beginning of the episodes. The sneaker checks. So let's roll into a couple other stories here.
All right.
Okay, so I don't know if I'm presuming everybody that's watching this. If you're watching this on YouTube, you definitely know the
probably
king
know,
of
yeah.
YouTube. They call him. That's Mr. Beast, and he's honestly, dude. I love it because he gives away stuff, right?
Yeah.
He gives away all this awesome stuff.
Houses, cars,
Yeah,
whatever.
like one of his videos, just to give you guys an understanding, if you guys don't know for some reason who he is, if you guys are listening to this, you probably, or some of you might not know.
Right.
He's got 103 million subscribers on
Yep.
YouTube, which is insane. He
Yeah,
makes
it's a lot.
a boatload of money from it because if you have 1 million subscribers, you're making quite a bit of money on
Yeah.
YouTube. So
For 103, it's a lot.
I don't even know what he makes. He definitely makes a lot, and he definitely gives away a lot for
Right.
sure too. So he, like, one of his videos, he went and bought a whole car dealership. Like
Yep.
it was a smaller one, it wasn't a big
Yeah.
one, but he still had like 28 plus cars, I think.
Yeah.
And gave them all away for free.
Is that the one where it's like however many you can fit
In a
into this
circle.
or whatever you can get to keep?
That
or
was a
whatever?
different one.
Okay,
that,
so it's a
that
different
was
one.
another one. He did that for a lady.
Yep.
And said, however many cars you fit in here, you can keep. It was an older lady, and she didn't know.
Right.
She thought that
was
she had
just
to
one
fit
car.
Yeah. She thought she had to fit all of them in there just to get one, and she's like, "Wait, I get all these cars?"
Right.
And she starts crying. It's like,
Right.
it's like I love that though. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that he does that for people is awesome. And
Yep.
a lot of the times it's people that are in need. So
Right.
it's awesome that he does that.
And
But
and sometimes he does it with his friends.
yeah, he does some crazy videos with his friends,
Yeah.
or like one of them was like they dumped a whole bunch of ramen noodles into a hot tub.
Really? I've never seen that one.
They put a bunch of ramen noodles and water into a hot tub, so it's just all noodles. And they said if you left it you get $10,000. And so
I think I'm leaving right away. God, that's kind of gross.
I mean, for $10,000, I'd be staying in it.
Really?
But, oh, dude, 100%. It's gross, but I mean,
it's all
$10,000.
slimy and dude.
If
no.
I could stay in that for 24 hours and do that, I mean, if you pee, nobody knows.
Yeah, true. I guess nobody really knows. It's kind of the water's kind of yellow at that point. So
yeah, it's that'd be gross.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd definitely do it for $10,000. So again, we just said he's the king of YouTube. Okay,
Yep,
so
he is.
presumably you think the king, right, with anything can't be touched. It's still looking that way, but he just recently, I think it was, I want to say, it might have been a month ago now. Honestly, time flies.
Right.
But he did a video and where he had 100 girls and 100 boys, and he split them up into 2 separate big rooms, had a big circle,
Yep.
and said, okay, and he put a porta potty on there too, so they could go to the
Right.
bathroom. Said 72 hours, whoever's whatever side has the most left
Right.
wins $500,000.
Yep.
So he gets all these like college kids and all this stuff, right? And
Yep.
they just want, amongst, I think there was like 50 to, or no, like I said, 100
Yeah.
to start. So you split 500,000 up 100 times, it's not as much, but it's still a good amount of money. So they're all trying to do it, and eventually, so on and so forth, the video goes on. I'm going to split it for you guys. The girls win, and it's actually a pretty good video. I watched it. It was funny. He splits the circle down in half and then quarters, and then it gets like smaller and smaller each time too. So anyway, he's getting looked at into getting canceled,
Right.
which I don't know how. I tried to look into it a little bit. You can't really find much on it, so I'm presuming it's not going to be something that happens.
Yeah.
And if he does get canceled, there's going to be some big problems,
Right,
like
right.
amongst YouTubers, amongst everything, because he didn't have a non-binary circle. That at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Is that he didn't have a non-binary circle.
Right.
So,
Which is stupid because that wasn't really the point of the video.
that's not the point of the video. It's
Right.
like 100 guys, 100 girls, boom. Here
right.
you go.
Very
500,000.
simple. Like
It's like literally that's yeah.
well,
I try
mean,
to
Typically, a lot of YouTubers do that.
Yeah.
It's not just him. Like
No.
you see it,
yeah.
and it's not like we need to have
Like
this.
boys versus girls, right?
Right, it's-
Gym class and when we were in middle school, right? Or elementary school, boys versus girls.
Right.
That's what it is.
It was never like
People need to stop
this and
making
that.
it something that it isn't.
Yeah.
It really it bugs me.
It's a soft topic for people who
Are
don't-
soft.
Right, yeah, are soft basically. Like literally
Yeah.
like if
Yeah.
you're not open to having that conversation and listening to the people who are opposed
Mm-hmm.
or don't agree with it and you just want to talk and talk, it's just kind of like, oh, shut up, like we just want to do our own thing.
Right. And yeah, that whole situation, like I said, it most likely isn't going to happen. The
Yeah.
fact that it is getting talked about though
Yeah.
is bizarre to me.
Yeah.
Especially with the amount of things he's done for people.
Right.
It's if YouTube were to cancel him, it'd be a problem.
I think they'd lose a lot. They'd lose a lot of money.
They'd lose a ton of money, dude. He
Right.
brings in so much, like in a
They
matter.
make-
I think I watched one of his videos. Like after like 10 minutes, it was out.
Yeah.
It was already at like 6 million views, which is absurd. That 6
Right.
million people in a matter of 10 minutes already viewed that
Right.
video. That you can't say that isn't gonna lose a ton of money.
Right,
for
and
them,
they're
so.
getting paid per click.
Yeah.
If I
per
believe
click.
right.
For you mean like Mr. Beast?
No,
YouTube. YouTube gets paid off of that and like ads, I
Yep.
think, with it. Same thing with them. Obviously,
Right.
like Mr. Beast gets paid off of ads
Right.
mostly and all that stuff.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's definitely bizarre that that's even being brought up at all. So, that's one topic I want to talk about. And then another topic for people that are known in the internet world now, Andrew
TikTok
Tate.
especially.
TikTok especially TikTok. He got big on Instagram a little bit, like 3 million subscribers, all that.
Yeah.
Technically on TikTok, he never had an account though. So
Yeah, people were kind of just posting clips.
they
or
were
whatever.
posting clips from him on interviews and all this stuff on
Yep.
there. So, but Andrew Tate is his name. He was a 4-time world champion kickboxer.
Yep.
talks about in another podcast actually where he's on it, talks about how it's not a lucrative field, right? And being in kickboxing, right? The most money he made from one of his fights is $100,000, which in the scheme of things for being a 4-time world champion is not good.
It's not a lot.
Right. After you did all that, had all that success, it's the same thing with the UFC, right? Dana White, very rich, and the high like Conor McGregor's and stuff
like Israel Adesanya.
Yeah, well, even him, he doesn't make that much.
Really?
But like the ones that are making it public and outside of just the people that watch UFC, like Conor McGregor, they make a lot.
Especially.
Huh?
Sean O'Malley, do you know who that is?
Yeah, he makes.
He's doing a decent amount.
The problem is though, like even some of their other champions, they don't really make that much.
Really?
So yeah, it's in the scheme of things, they should be making a ton more, right? Compared to what UFC brings in, it's like you get NFL players here that are getting $26 million signing bonuses. And then you have these guys that don't even make near that when they're a champion for some odd years, you know. So it's kind of bizarre that and I get it in terms of Dana White and making a lot of money, and the guys that they're still getting paid a lot of money, right? Yeah. That's not saying that like all these UFC guys
are getting like a teacher salary or something. They're getting paid more than
they're getting paid
the average person.
A couple $100,000 a year at least. Which is good, but in compared to other sports, it's not. And especially with how much you risk your body. And UFC is a lot, you know, any MMA is way more.
Right. But if you look into it, like there's very few, but there's some who will go and like do WWE now, and which is very weird.
It's stupid, but it's not stupid.
No, it's smart for them. It's very strategic in how they.
For me personally, if WWE reaches out to me, what's up? I'll come do a contract for you guys for sure. I mean, they have a lot of money that they give out that way through that. But anyway, so Andrew Tate, he's like I said, he was a 4-time world champion kickboxer. He goes and apparently his story, like a quick version of his story, is he owes $100,000 to some bad people. Right? I don't know if you heard this story.
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you the story then too. So he owed $100,000 to some pretty bad people. I don't know if it was mafia, whatever, so on and so forth. Right. Well, it comes down to it. He has $70,000, and he has I think a week left to get those people, whoever they might be, another $30,000. And he saved up the $70,000 for a while, and he's like, I need $30,000.
I think I heard the story actually. Yeah. Now that you're talking about it.
He goes, I need $30,000. I don't know what to do, and then he's like, I'm a gambling man. Takes 20 of it. 20 of the 70, so he's got 50 here, takes 20 of it to the casino. He said he's more of a blackjack guy. He played a little bit of that, but he's like, you know what, winning my money back faster with roulette. So he goes to roulette and loses it all. So he's down 50. Right. And so he goes and he's like, I'm gonna go lock myself in my room. And until I find a way to make $50,000, I'm gonna be in here. And so he's got his computer, his phone, and he's in his room. And he's looking, and he sees all these girls that are doing live feed chats and all this. Like you got all these beautiful women or whatever that that have all these creep guys looking at them and sending money just because she's talking to them via webcam. Which is crazy. Insane. I mean, if you can make your money, but weird to me at least. So he looks at this. He's like, wow, there's a lot of money here. And he goes and gets a bunch of people from, I think it was Russia, women from Russia and I don't remember, another country, and brings them in, and I think he had like a total of 5 or 7 or whatever, and starts having them do web chats, and he's sitting there, he starts making a bunch of money.
So he's basically like their pimp at this point.
Essentially. And I think technically it's illegal. What he was doing. I don't know the whole backstory of it, but I think it was technically illegal. And he was doing this stuff, and in a way, he wasn't promising anything to these guys that were watching, but they would think that eventually they'd be able to meet up with these chicks or whatever. Like one time, he got paid $1 million or $50,000 just to go to a dinner. One of these girls, which is absurd. And Andrew Tate would take most of that money and then just give him a base salary. If you guys know who Andrew Tate is, he's got a very perceived point of view. It's a very specific look on everything that he's got. So he's technically being looked at for certain criminal activities, all this stuff. who are the people though? You know,
Right,
he doesn't have anybody that you can go to and be like, oh yeah, well, Andrew Tate made me do this. Here's all this evidence, right? He doesn't have all this evidence to do it, and that's a problem. You can't have a big scheme thing against him,
Right.
If you don't have evidence for it. So he said it, technically word of mouth thing, but and if he said it, I don't know, whatever, so on and so forth. The bottom line is he was very big for a couple months now on TikTok, and again, it's not him, but it's videos of him circulating through TikTok, and then he had an Instagram account. I think he had over 3 million or 4 million followers, whatever.
Yep.
Well, now he's banned everywhere.
Yep.
And you know, the fact that he's banned on every social media platform
is crazy.
Is scary.
Yeah.
Because that means that they most likely all like had a conversation.
Right.
And they're like, hey, we need to get this guy out of here.
Well, most of the stuff is owned by like the same person.
Yeah.
But like Facebook was owned by Facebook bought Instagram, I believe.
Yep, Facebook owns Instagram. Yep.
And now I don't know if Mark Zuckerberg owns it or if Elon Musk is looking into buying it or whatever.
Twitter?
Facebook.
Oh, really?
I heard Facebook, yeah. As well with Twitter. I think he does. I think he did.
I don't know if Elon Musk owns it or not at this point. I know he was looking into it and he said he was going to buy it. But he's not for sure on owning it, I don't think yet. But yeah, so at the end of the day, though, Andrew Tate is now banned everywhere. It's scary to me. And these are all things that come out of his mouth, which who knows what it is. He perceives himself as very rich, or presents himself as very rich, and he looks like he is.
Right.
I mean, he's got yachts, he's got Bugattis.
Right. He's got like a firing range in his house or whatever.
What do you like to say? Bugatti.
Yeah.
I got a Bugatti. If you don't have a Bugatti, then you don't have a Bugatti.
Right.
He just talks like it's funny. But so on and so forth, right? Girlfriends that he's all had are apparently getting approached by reporters saying, we'll give you money if you say bad things about Andrew Tate.
Right.
And now they all call him and say, like, this is where we're at. Why is this happening to you? This is unfair. And it's all true, right?
Right.
It's all true stuff. So he shouldn't be getting all this happening to him. He's got a very I don't know what the perspective, I would say, a very weird perspective on women, but in like all this stuff, and it's feminists go crazy on it.
Yeah.
But a lot of the things he does say about not necessarily that topic are true.
Right.
And I think it's, in a way he's helped a lot of people.
Yeah, he has helped a lot of people who were not in touch with their, I don't know, he says masculinity.
Yeah.
Just kind of grow. Like, I mean, you can tell by some of his fans, like, they're loyal to him, and like, but he's also taught them, like, don't be afraid to take what's yours.
Right, exactly, and I like that. I think it's a good thing.
Right.
That he's doing that. So it's definitely I don't think it's a bad thing that what he was doing.
Right.
I think his perspectives on some things may have been hurtful to other people in other ways, but nowadays if you hurt somebody in one way or the other, everybody gets you shunned or banned or shadow banned or whatever. So
I think it was like one time. So do you know the YouTuber Clicks plays Fortnite and stuff?
I've heard of him. Yeah.
So I think he did a thing where Andrew was like on a live on Twitch with him, and he had this girl that he liked and like kind of coached him. Like she was right there, so she could kind of see, but she couldn't hear.
Yeah.
That like he needed to like say this stuff to her in order for him to like get her.
I remember this now.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's like, no, you're not listening to what I'm saying. And he's like stuttering.
I think they ended up getting together too.
Well, then he turns out to be like soft, and someone says to him, "Are you just gonna let her run your life or whatever?" And like he doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
And that's not what Andrew Tate tried to tell him what to do. But I mean, like if he doesn't listen, he doesn't listen. But I thought that was really funny. I thought that was funny, but also like he was trying to show like how to be a man at the same time, because he's probably never like been taught that,
Right. No, and honestly, like, again, the fact that people are getting banned from the internet now is stupid, because it wouldn't have happened years and years ago.
Right.
Like 10 years ago, the reason that these people are getting banned would have never happened.
Right.
And now it's like happening quite frequently, which is a problem. And I think it's a scary problem that we're going to have as a society.
Yeah.
Moving forward with a lot of things.
You probably don't know who Steve Will Do It is. I think I've mentioned him to you.
I do know who he is.
So his YouTube account got completely wiped.
That's true. Yeah.
And so he's trying to figure it out because he's making a lot of money doing it on his own. So now he's trying to like work in with the Nelk Boys, who's his original group, to make more money so that he doesn't lose everything he's invested in.
Yeah, that's it, and that's the thing is like again, it comes back to why are all these people getting banned for doing things that aren't necessarily that bad?
I mean, Steve Will Do It takes it a little far.
Yeah. But, well, I mean, when you have a Steve Will Do It, it probably sounds like he'd do anything, right? When you have that as your.
But some of the stuff he does is really cool. Like he gives away money.
Yeah.
And like he went to Mexico and handed out like millions of pesos to families who were really in need and like bought them a house or a car, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like you see that and it's like, oh, cool, he's doing that. But then you see him, hanging out and partying.
Yeah, doing all this other stuff.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, now we might need to like censor that a little bit.
Yeah. I know it's a problem, and it'll continue to happen. I don't know how we as a society are going to be able to handle that or fight that. It'll be hard.
Because a lot of people take things like bad, like really bad now.
People take everything as way too serious nowadays,
right?
And then I don't know what to say. We can't do anything about it.
Right, and like you said, 10 years ago, a lot of these conversations weren't.
No, these would have never been conversations 10 years ago.
Right. And like that's like my dad got kicked out of school for something that would have been punishable now. Mm-hmm. That shouldn't have been punishable back then, but just so happened to be that one time.
Right.
And like it was just for saying a word. And it's like now it'd get you in some trouble, but like back then it wasn't like a thing,
right. Yeah.
Especially in the early 2000s, like nobody was really like what's the word, like
sensitive.
Yeah, no, it wasn't really like a sensitive subject because like everyone kind of knew it, and that's like what it was,
Yeah, it's and honestly, again, man, Andrew Tate, you have to have respect for what he did and what he, what he's grown or whatever. I don't know. He owns casinos in Romania now.
Yep.
Has his Hustlers University thing and all that. So he's still making money. Yeah. If everything he said is true, which. Some of it might be wishy-washy, but a lot of it probably is true. So have to have respect for him.
And like, didn't he get raided or something like that?
I don't know if he did. I know obviously Donald Trump did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I did see that.
I don't know if Andrew Tate did or not, but we'll have to look into that.
Yep.
But now getting into the full Manti Te'o thing. Okay, this is one thing that I want to talk a decent amount about. So. An Untold documentary came out, right? So they do all these, untold stories of people that had bad things happen to them.
Yep.
And like they have one that just came out today, where it's a basketball, an NBA referee, who was again, I haven't seen it yet, so I have a hard time speaking on it.
Right.
But who was throwing games and telling people who to bet on. And then they'd make like $2 to $3 million on a game.
Okay, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I saw the glimpse of it, and this is his story behind it. So I really want to watch that because the fact is, how does that get spun? That one's a little bit different than the Manti Te'o.
Yeah,
So I want to know how that gets spun in a
Right, like is there fines for it? Like what happens there?
Right. So that's one of the Untold. Well, then an Untold came out recently. From something that happened way back in 2011.
Yeah.
I was 10 years old, and I still remember it.
Yeah. You're a little bit older than me.
Yeah.
I was 6.
Okay. When were you born?
I was born in 2004.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
So I was like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But when you're growing up, and I went to Rockford, so like, like we all kind of knew about sports, and when we seen, like, I would watch ESPN like at home, so I knew of the story. I just didn't know the full story, like you see now.
And you were a little bit younger age than to where you couldn't comprehend it as well, probably.
Yep.
But the story is Untold. Manti Te'o, the dead girlfriend who doesn't exist or who didn't exist, and it's something that struck the internet crazy back then.
Yeah.
And again, this is 2011. I think actually it came out in like 2011 or 12 or 13. It was around
his
those
senior
range.
year. I forget.
His
which...
senior year would be 12. It'd
Yep.
be 12 then,
Yep.
because he started playing in the NFL in 13.
Yep, correct.
So yeah, 12 would be it. But so yeah, he was a really stud linebacker, middle linebacker.
Yep.
Out of Hawaii.
Yep.
Right. Samoan family. What did you call him?
Mormon background.
Mormon background. And he was a tremendous football player, and they give a backstory on all his life in that, so you guys should go watch that.
Yep.
and get that. Well, the story that eroded way back in 2013 or
Yep.
12 now was what the media perceived it as. Manti had a dead girlfriend, or
had a girlfriend.
His grandma and his girlfriend died on the same day.
Correct.
Okay. That's what it was perceived as. And his grandma obviously passed away, but his girlfriend was fake.
Right.
And he made it up. That's what they said.
Right, yeah.
That's what the media said.
Yeah.
And the media has a good way of, if you don't research anything, or if you don't know the true story behind that person, of ruining people.
It's just a wildfire.
Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that they went into, is that, Manti Te'o was really successful. He was a highly recruited middle linebacker out of high school.
He was the number one linebacker in the country.
Yeah, and so he was looking into going to USC.
Yep.
He describes in the documentary that he had like a calling to go to Notre Dame.
Yep, he was sitting in church or whatever, and his pastor or whatever.
Yeah. Well, no, he was sitting there praying to God, saying, if I want to go to USC, but if USC is not the right place for me, give me a sign. And then he says the next day, he goes into the office, and somebody he considered to be a dad as well, on top of his dad, was there, and he's like, man, you're going to go to USC and be a standout athlete? He goes, I would have figured like someone like you would have went to Notre Dame.
Right.
And so he's like, what? Notre Dame?
Right.
He took that as a sign.
And then he leaves, right?
Oh, he hated the idea of going there. Like they show him when he decided to go to Notre Dame and put in the Notre Dame hat. He doesn't look happy.
He looks like sad that he's like picking that school.
And he said that too.
Right, yeah.
That's the crazy thing. He literally goes, I wasn't really happy choosing Notre Dame, which is funny to me.
Right.
That, obviously, and I understand it, being that I was recruited for sports too. It's a hard decision to make, and you really, and honestly, at the end of the day, do not know.
Right.
So it's all comes down to like your faith and hopefully picking the right school. Right. So when he goes there and he says, for the media, he was making it look like he was happy there, but he hated it.
Yeah. He was calling his dad
culture
mom,
shock. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like, "Hey, I hate it here. Like it's not just the Samoan culture.
Right. It's a complete culture shock because Notre Dame's a Catholic.
Yep.
And he was a more, it's quite a bit different for him. And then obviously living in a beautiful state like Hawaii that I've never been to. Dang it, I want to go. Yeah. And then going to South Bend, Indiana, right? South Bend is where,
that is where
Notre Dame's at. So I mean, it's in the Midwest and in the cold, which is horrible.
Right.
So, but anyway, so he went there and he started as a freshman.
Yep.
Doing really well. Sophomore, same thing.
Yep.
Well, apparently, in the middle of his freshman year, he got reached out to by somebody. And this one, Facebook, and just to give everybody a glimpse before we get into the details of this.
Yeah.
Catfishing people wasn't a thing. Back then, it really wasn't a term that anybody used.
No, because you didn't really it wasn't known yet.
Right. And so the thing is, he gets a friend request from this so-called Lene chick. Lene Kakua is what it looked like, right? So it technically had a Samoan heritage, but lived in California
and attended USC, correct?
Yep, I believe so.
But she was very pretty.
Yeah, very beautiful.
She was very attractive.
Yep.
But that's the thing. Back then, you didn't really know.
Yeah, he literally just sees this attractive woman. She only had 13 pictures, which would be suspicious now.
Yeah.
But 13 pictures, and looking at it, and he's like, man, beautiful, and he likes her pictures, all this stuff.
And he reaches out to his cousin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shiloh.
Oh.
Yep, that was his cousin's name,
so.
Shiloh.
Yeah, and was like, do you know this person?
Yeah.
And his cousin's like, I know of her. I talked to her a little bit, right?
Right.
Well, So he's having these conversations, and these conversations go on from like the middle of his freshman year all the way through college.
Yeah.
Where he supposedly has this girlfriend. Right. And again, and you got to look at it this way. This is the one thing I would say is like, I would, being that it even was back then, I would be suspicious in the fact of I had a girlfriend that I've never even seen.
Right, or met. I mean, talk to her on the phone. Sounds like a girl.
100%.
Sounds like a girl. You hear it in the documentary. Mm-hmm. And it sounds really good.
It's scary.
It's really good.
It just makes you really, really like, wow.
Right.
Like, I don't know how to react to it.
Right.
So what Landon's getting to now is the true identity behind the Lene Kakua lady, right? Or his girlfriend, right? And it comes down to it's this Renaya guy. It's some really
Sopo or something like that.
Yeah,
it's close.
You said it pretty good actually. Yeah. I didn't want to try and say it because it sounds like a hard name to say.
Yeah.
Renaya, it's a guy.
Yep.
That his dad was in the NFL, his uncle was in the NFL.
Yep.
A long history of football.
Like the Eagles, 49ers.
Yep.
Somewhere
all
else.
This. One other. I'm picturing it. I think.
I feel like it was Seattle something.
I don't know if it was the Seahawks.
Because it wasn't the Seahawks back then.
It was the Seahawks.
Okay, then maybe it was.
Anyway, they were all over the place. All his family was in the NFL. Apparently he was a pretty decent quarterback in high school. All this stuff. Well, at the end, after high school, now he starts feeling as if he is feminine, and they describe it better in the documentary. Right. This Renaya character. Well, he decides that he wants to create an account using a girl that he knew.
Yep. From high school.
Yeah, from high school, using her pictures because she's a beautiful woman, right?
Yep.
So puts this on here, creates this Lene Kakua, says, well, if I need to make this more believable, makes a whole family.
Yeah, like brothers, sisters,
and then makes himself as her cousin.
Yes.
Yeah, which is absurd. Why would you tying himself into that too? He wasn't very smart about the whole situation. Okay?
No, but it gets better.
It gets better. So yeah, he goes into that, and so obviously Manti is a little bit suspicious with. He's like, well, you know this. Well, then he gets confirmation that people knew of who it was and all this stuff. Starts talking to her and doing all this stuff, right? And then obviously the media builds him up like hi Manti. He's a Heisman runner-up, I want to say his junior year.
Yep.
Was contemplating going into the draft that year.
He decides not to.
Looking back now, he probably should have. You never know.
He finished second in the Heisman running-up, as a junior.
Yep, so. And he also was the most voted for defensive player of all time for the Heisman. And that's pretty impressive being a linebacker.
Well, maybe, because Aiden Hutchinson was second as well.
Oh, that's right.
So who knows?
I think he was quite far behind in votes though. So he was the most voted for, at least back then.
He was a great player.
Oh, tremendous middle linebacker.
Right,
tremendous.
Fly downhill and get to the ball.
Mm-hmm. It was crazy. So all this story comes together. And these are all, again, watching the documentary, we're kind of all over the place with it. We're trying to depict it in the best way and give our 2 cents on it. But so he decides not to go to the NFL draft his junior year, and during this whole time they're tweeting like at each other and all this stuff, right? Saying that they're boyfriend, girlfriend, I love you, babe, all this stuff, right? Having phone calls like you were saying.
With his best friend from high school, correct? The quarterback. In the room, even hearing. Yep. And he said it sounded exactly like a woman. Mm-hmm. It was not a male.
Yeah, they said there's zero chance.
Right, zero chance.
And then supposedly too, we find out in the documentary, because Renaya, or I don't even know what they said the new name for, because technically now he identifies as a.
Is it Naya?
It is just Naya.
I think it's Naya now.
Yeah, now it technically identifies as a woman. So anyway, they go through, and Dr. Phil has him at that time. I think he was still him, whatever. Going in it into detail on it.
Yeah.
And is like, he has all his voice experts come in and listening to him, and this at the time when it was a guy, it was just, he looked like a guy, everything.
Yeah.
They're like, there's no way.
Right. And they were like, it's too good.
Yeah, it's too good to be true. And then he's like, well, I need to get in character, right? This is what Renaya says.
Yeah.
He's like, I need to get in character. I need a dark room. You know, so he puts him in like a shaded closet with a couch and all this stuff. And so he goes in there and he does the voice. Yeah. And Dr. Phil has all these people that are voice, experts, on the topic, and they're like, yeah, that's the voice.
Right.
When they hear it, because Manti ended up releasing voicemails, all this stuff, right? Well, at the end of the day, he was playing multiple roles of cousins, sisters, brothers, all this stuff, right?
Yeah, like in the supposable hospital room.
Yeah. Well, that's where it first came about. Yeah. Is the fact is, his grandmother died earlier that day. Well, and then later on that day, supposedly they said that she died of leukemia at that point.
Right.
But prior to this, she was in the hospital for a car accident and then got leukemia.
That there's no record of.
Right.
And his friends say this. There's no record of the car accidents. We searched through it.
Yeah.
Then he talks to the brother. I don't remember the brother's name that was on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
But they were like, hey, she's not really doing good. That's why she hasn't been answering.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, well, give her the phone.
Yeah.
And they're like, she's in a coma. Then you hear, or how he explains it is, it's like
somebody
like
breathing,
a mask, kind of like a type deal, I don't know if you can hear that, but
probably
right. But like that's kind of how it was.
Yeah.
And he says he talks to her every day for like a month, right? It goes on for like a month.
And says his voice.
Yeah, says his voice. It's like really faded,
like
but
creepy.
right. And it's really weird. But he didn't. She says in the documentary, I don't try and stay. If a guy tries to meet with me, I cut it off.
Right.
But with Manti, I just couldn't cut it off.
Yeah.
And
he said that they felt this connection, right, between them, and
which there was a connection with Lene,
right?
Obviously,
not
Renaya.
Yeah, and it's very confusing.
Yeah,
it is a very confusing story, and you guys will probably understand it when
you watch the whole
hopefully
thing.
You guys watched this before this, but if you guys are just listening to this and haven't watched it, I'd suggest watching it after this too, because it is a very confusing. That's probably why it sounds like we're all over it, because there's so many pieces, and the
documentary paints the picture very well.
It does, and the problem is like the way that this whole thing got like exposed to the media, right? So, Lene Kakua, right, gets in this accident, and then like you just described it all.
Yep.
He's talking to her through the coma, whatever. Well, then comes to find out that she has leukemia, which is weird. This is just weird that she goes into the hospital for a car crash, all this stuff. Well, the car crash was initiated by that Renaya to try and end things with Manti. And then she says that she can't, and then goes through that whole voice that you did, all that, and then now apparently has leukemia.
Right, but the thing is, it never in the story does it say I found out when I was in the hospital with my car accident. Yeah. It doesn't say when you find out that you have leukemia. It's just I have leukemia. All of a sudden.
It's out of the blue. And I feel bad for Manti, but at the same token, I'm like, dude, you got to be suspicious about this, especially if you can't see her. Right. And so, like, again, I really truly think that he, after you're watching that too, and understanding my perspective on it now, is that he had no clue. Right. But again, dude, you had to be smarter with that, because it was, you gotta just see that, like you were saying. When did they didn't really suggest that they found out when they went in for the car accident, and then it's like all of a sudden, boom, just leukemia pops up out of nowhere. And it's definitely like a weird situation.
And it's like, she says, I guess, like, because he was talking about it, right, in the documentary, he was like, she said she didn't want me to worry about her while I was playing football. But you don't just hide that from, like, your significant other. It, like, I wouldn't. Like, I would hope that, like, it'd be that way. You know, like, I would want them to know so that, like, they can prepare themselves before, like, it's just, like, a bunch of bricks.
Right.
And it's, like, it's crazy. Like, and he, like, obviously she says she passes.
That's how it happens, is his senior year comes about.
Yep.
And his grandmother passes away, and then later on that day, supposedly gets a call from a cousin or brother or
I think
sister.
I think it was the brother.
Yeah, and just straight up say, like, kind of like crying, which again is just ridiculous that he's playing this It's creepy. Crying hysterically, saying that she's gone, she's gone, she's gone.
Right.
And so Manti goes crazy, right? Again,
Right.
dude, you never met this girl. It's
right.
crazy.
And
like
he's screaming, he's crying.
screaming,
right?
yeah, doing all this stuff on the phone with Renaya. And goes just into detail, and he's like, he decided, and he says in the document, he said it way back when, that he was going to play for his grandma and for his dead girlfriend.
Yep.
And so, he goes out. He has a tremendous year.
Yeah.
Of breakout
senior year.
Breakout. Just going like awesome, doing all this stuff. Well, then obviously, I think he takes second in the Heisman that year. And then goes into training and preparing for the combine and doing all this stuff.
Wasn't it like, I think it was his junior year he did the Heisman. The Heisman thing happens.
Okay.
But she kind of, because remember she said she passes away, the season goes on, right? And then he's like, then Renaya or Lene says, I just couldn't leave him alone. Mm-hmm. And then he gets a call from her sister, right? Saying, or no, her. And she's like, Manti, it's me.
So no, that's what it was at the end before during the combine
national championship game. Remember?
That's right.
He has a really bad national championship game.
You're right. That's right. It was before the end of that year, before the national championship game. Supposedly on the phone with the sister, saying, just checking up on her.
Yep.
And then just,
it's like, Manti, it's me.
Manti, it's me. And then he does the voice and then said, if it's you, like Manti at this point, Manti is going crazy. He's like, there's no way it's you. It sounds just like her, right? But he's like, there's no way it's you. Send me a picture of doing this, with like a rock
star sign.
Yep.
With a shoe on your head. In a sign.
It wasn't a shoe on the head.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it didn't have a shoe on the head.
I thought it was a shoe on the head.
It was this. It was holding a piece of paper up.
Yep. Okay.
With the other one saying like the date and the initials and all this stuff.
Well, then it gets better because Renaya, who obviously is the character Lene, reaches out to the actual Lene, and says, "Hey, I have my mom or something who's really sick or something like that." Really twisted story.
Really
and it's like, send me a picture with today's date, this thing on the piece of paper. It was like MSKS or something like that.
MXK or something
weird
like that.
And it had today's date and the rockstar sign.
Yeah.
Well, she sends it.
Why would she do that?
Right. It's super weird.
You just get this message out of the blue saying that. I think that's really weird.
Right. Yeah. And unless you're friends with that person.
Yeah, which didn't seem like they were, because obviously she would have probably known about this way sooner.
Right.
It's absurd. And so that happens, and then so he really does think that she's alive. And just at this point, it's just like, just hangs up, doesn't, tries to not think about it, not contact, because of the whole situation. He realizes now is effed up and something's messed up.
Because they said the cover story was that she was in really bad danger.
Yeah.
And she needed to go away for a while.
Yeah.
That was the story. Mm-hmm. And
then he goes and plays the national championship game, like you were saying, and plays horribly. Yeah, underperforms.
He misses a lot of tackles.
They give up. They lose by like 21 plus points to Alabama. A really good Alabama team. Yeah, I remember that. Like Eddie Lacy was on there.
Oh yeah, that was a stacked team.
That was a stacked team. So they go and lose that, and then he goes and start training, and they're talking to him about the combine, and for some reason, this is obviously still weighing on his head. Yeah. But he brings up saying, again about his dead girlfriend when he knows, which again,
she's alive or not.
Yeah. He's just like all wishy-washy with it. So it's obviously on his mind. So I guess that's why he would say it. But he's like, I just dedicated to that, and I about her being gone and my grandma. Again, I wouldn't bring up the story if you know something's wrong. Right. And so he goes in, he's at the combine, even though his agent suggested, not going there. Yeah. Well, goes there, he's training, and then gets a call from his agent saying, "Hey, you need to come back here." Right. Yep. And that's when the whole story gets released. Yep. These guys got an anonymous tip saying that, Manti Te'o's their girlfriend. Yeah, she's not actually alive. It was never a person.
Well, the weird thing is when that is all happening and it all comes out, don't you think the actual Lene would have said, I've never talked to this person a day in my life?
You would think. Right. You would think. It came late.
Yeah, it was really late.
Her coming into the story, she must have had no touch with the news or sports or anything whatsoever.
Well, and she's like, well, I guess who knows where she lived at after that, because It says she studied at USC.
Yeah.
But she really lived in Hawaii, right? Because she went to high school.
Honestly, I don't remember that part about it. I can't say exactly where she lived.
Right.
At.
Yeah.
It was the bottom line is though is that happens. There's all these reporters going to both of their houses. The whole story comes out.
Yep.
At the time the story comes out though, they don't know that Renaya is playing all in these roles, all this stuff, right? And that the true pictures of Lene, like the actual Lene woman, doesn't know, right? They don't know any of this stuff. So they release it though, but they say they have to release it so other people don't get to release it.
Right.
They go into story, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's the news story of the century, and all these people go into it saying, he had this dead girlfriend, and it's not really a person, and they say it's a hoax on him.
Yep.
And then they spit it off. Again, the media does a great job of lifting people up because he was on this pedestal, right?
Yep.
It went from, oh my God, that's Manti Te'o, to, hey, that's Manti Te'o.
Like, hey, that's the guy that faked his girlfriend's death.
Yeah, exactly. And so they spun that on him so bad. And kind of before you go into whatever you want to say about the rest of it, the way it ends is just him. He goes into the draft, and he should have been like at 15.
He fell
in
to the second round, right?
He fell to pick 36.
Yep.
And he was looking to be in round one, pick 15, which is millions.
Yeah.
In difference.
Millions.
So this whole scenario cost him millions and millions of dollars. And not just that, but it cost him his whole reputation.
Right.
And the fact is, I'm tremendously happy for him that he still got picked up and he played. And his last season was the 2021. He's technically a free agent now.
Yeah. Who do you play with?
Saints, I want to say.
Okay,
so he was at the Chargers for 6 years. The Saints. I think he was with one other team too.
I feel like it was the Chiefs for some weird
reason. For some reason, I see a red team when I'm thinking of that too.
Maybe Texans. But I don't think so.
I don't remember. I know it was for sure Chargers and Saints.
Yep.
And, he goes into something too, though, here. And it's a deep thing at the end. It's actually like a tremendously deep story that he tells at the end. And most people should probably go watch his understanding of it and the way he depicts it. But it's... he sits there and he's like, he said he can't play football really in the NFL. It wasn't him. His steps were there. Everything was slow.
Right.
And he tells his agent, he goes, listen, I need to talk to somebody.
Right.
And he ends up going and speaking to a therapist.
Yeah.
And just says the whole story. And they're like, the therapist goes, well, do you forgive Renaya? Yeah. And he goes, yeah. And he was a very faith-based person. So he's like, yeah, I forgive him. I forgive the whole situation that happened and all this stuff, right? And he's trying to move on. He's trying to play football in the NFL. And then the therapist goes, well, let me ask you one more question.
Yep.
Did you forgive yourself?
Right.
And that's when he goes,
and he's like, no.
The same situation that we all probably would react. He's like, what do you mean forgive myself?
Right.
Why would I forgive myself?
Right.
Right. I didn't do anything wrong. He goes, that's the thing is like, you have to forgive yourself for what happened to you.
Right.
And it's a very deep thing that he says, and he's like, if I can inspire people from this story, if I can inspire one person, it's worth it. Yeah. When he tells the story, and he plays better football. I don't think he was ever as good as he ever was after the whole situation.
Yeah,
no. By any means, unfortunately, but it's a really deep, impactful thing of what he was saying at the end. There is like, you have to forgive yourself for a lot of situations. And move on and to be a better person and be all this.
For sure.
So it's the whole situation to him. I'm so like the media really screwed him. Yeah. It really screwed him. And the fact now in 2022 when this happened in 2012, 2013 area right there. Yeah. That now 9-10 years later it's getting brought up. Right. It's just crazy.
Well, the one thing that I found out that was super crazy about it was Renaya brought his little sister to a game and was like had to like tell her like I'm Lene, you gotta like play off like that, like
fake this character,
fake that Lene died, and the sister brings a teddy bear or something like that of some sort and gives it to Manti and says this is Lene's favorite.
Yeah, I remember that now. Oh my God, it's so messed
Right,
up.
and he's like, oh my God, thank you.
Yeah.
And then Manti hugs Renaya.
Who is actually Lene.
Right, and
you know.
And Renaya, or Naya now,
Yeah.
She says it wasn't like an embraceful hug,
right?
But it was like, oh my God, I finally get to hug you, kind of a hug.
Yeah, it wasn't like, well, yeah. So it wasn't like a huge deal. Is what she or him, whatever
it is,
said at the end. It's like it wasn't like it was like, oh my God, I get to hug him now. It's just like it was kind of like something that apparently he needed at that time.
Yeah,
and he was doing, which I don't know. Again, the whole situation is so messed up, and the fact is, you can sit here and say that Manti Te'o should have been way more understanding, or way more. He should have seen the whole thing.
Right, he should have been more suspectful.
I guess that'd be the word for it. You should be more suspicious with the situation that was happening. But at the end of the day, the way that the voicemails, the way that it sounded on the phone, all of these things, just really made it just a messed up story.
Too right to be wrong.
Right.
I think that's a good way to put it. You have all these things adding up. That's like, oh my God, like I talked to her on the phone.
Yep.
I know her voice.
Yeah.
Your friends are like, yeah, I guess. Mm-hmm. But they're still suspicious a little bit. Don't you think that makes you a little bit more suspicious if they are suspicious?
Right.
Even though you're the one in this relationship.
It's a hard place to be at when you're in the problem with me is, like, again, it's hard to look at it in this day and age because the catfishing thing is so much different now.
Right.
With all the the dating apps and all the things out here, like, oh, I saw this guy and didn't look like him at all.
Right.
And all that stuff, right? So the catfishing scenario now is like a thing.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't a thing back then.
Right.
But it really is hard to sit back and say, well, you had this girlfriend for 3+ years.
Right.
And you never met her.
Right.
And you got all these predicaments that happen, and it is a hard thing to look at. And I will say he should have been more suspicious. I'm sure he definitely thinks that now too. Right. But definitely a sad thing.
I think people are more careful now about that stuff than ever. Mm-hmm. But it's just when the internet first came out, it wasn't a thing. Mm-hmm. And even back then, like when you met someone, you met them face to face, and you got their number, and you knew who they were.
Yep.
Now it's like, oh, this person, like, say, added me on Snapchat, no clue who they are. Mm-hmm. Add them back, and then you're like, oh, like, kind of flirting with them or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know you, but I've seen you. Mm-hmm. But how do I know it's really you?
Right.
Is the weird thing.
Right.
And
the thing is, too, they bring this up, I think it was one of his friends that said this, is that, in your Samoan culture in Hawaii, you know everybody.
Yeah.
Right? And then when you get reached out to by, somebody of the same like type of heritage.
Yeah.
That's in California. This lady, or this beautiful lady.
Yeah.
You don't really question those things.
No.
Which I guess we have to look at it and be fair in his point of view with that, and that's probably why he was so oblivious with it. But it's, again, man, I truly think everybody should watch that documentary.
Yeah. It was great.
Yeah, like we just try to give our summary on it, and you're probably all over the place with because there's so many stories. There's like, unless we literally wrote this out and had a 2-hour documentary on it, we wouldn't be able to get it right.
No, there's just too many sides.
There's too many side things that this Renaya created for this Lene.
It's it's so twisted, and it's like, it's bad. Like, but that stuff happens now.
Yeah.
Like, people do it.
Yeah, and people still fall for it.
Right,
too.
which is crazy to me.
So nowadays, man, if you fall for that, I don't feel bad for you.
No.
Back then, with his whole scenario, I feel bad for him.
Right, yeah.
It's sad.
There's so many more resources to figure that stuff out.
Oh, 100%.
Like,
it's so easy to find that stuff out nowadays if somebody's faking, So, but yeah, man. So that's the major thing I wanted to talk about. After watching that, I felt like we needed to kind of sit down and give a summary of it and kind of give what our 2 cents on it. And at the end of the day, my 2 cents is, don't believe anything the media says.
Right.
Because the media will twist every story into making it seem like it's a huge deal and that this person messed up or this person effed up, right? All these things. At the end of the day, man, you gotta take a step back and you gotta say, okay, well, this is what the media is saying. Let me do a little bit of research, or if you can somehow meet the person or whatever and get their side of things, then that's when you should read it. But
the media is controlled by a certain amount of people. It's not very many, but it's far from few.
Yeah.
And those people can flip whatever narrative they want.
Oh, 100%.
And they they pull strings, and
it happens every day here now.
Yeah,
too,
for sure.
With every story that's out. There's so many stories. And it's hard with, I went to college and for that year and a half, and everything in this day and age is trying to convince you to listen to what other people think.
Yeah.
Right. And have you believe everything.
Right.
And I said this in another episode, nobody has a mind for their own anymore.
No.
They think that people are telling them the truth, which unless literally our whole country can get a grasp on having a mind for themselves.
Yeah.
We're gonna just be stuck in this crappy world that we're in.
Well, it's like you butt heads with some people, and they just are stuck in their way, and you're stuck in yours. Mm-hmm. But like, not to get political or anything, but when the election was going on, they fed you how bad Donald Trump was and how great Joe Biden was. Now it's flipped. Mm-hmm. Now it's, oh my God, President Trump is a great, smart man. Yeah. And Joe Biden has no clue what he's doing. Right. And then people are like, oh, yeah, I mean, they're kind of right.
Yeah. And then, again, with that whole situation, that was the media doing what they wanted to do. Right, yeah. And that was, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, in this day and age, with a lot of our things, with our criminal justice system, all this stuff, right? At the end of the day, it truly does not matter how much evidence you have anymore. No. If somebody wants something to happen, it's going to happen if they have enough power to do it.
Look at Matt Ariza, the puncher from the Bills. Yeah. It's a tough story because you can't say you can't believe her. Uh-huh. But she says in the news interview, I was waiting. Like, she was waiting to let the story out. Yeah. Even though it happened X amount of years ago, or like a year or so ago, she waited just until he got signed by an NFL team, and then comes out with her story and says there were 2 other dudes included. But you don't really know the whole story.
I don't know that whole story, what you're talking about.
So it's actually brand new. So the Bills, Matt Ariza, who they drafted in the draft, he's called the punt god because he punts really well. Yeah. He gets into this situation where this girl comes out about saying that they gang raped her or whatever. And not saying you can't believe her. Yeah. But
the timing for it.
Right. It happens a lot.
And that's the there's so many stories that have happened with that type of stuff, and it's like the whole Jameis Winston thing when he was in college too, right? And that comes out to be fake, and the lady says it's fake, and they don't have punishable things.
What about the guy from Baylor? You remember the big jockey dude? Yeah. What did he do exactly? I think it was sexual assault that they accused him of, and he never did it. Yeah. And then he gets let out of jail.
It's not Shaquem Griffin. It was the guy that looked like a Madden created character. Right. He was just ridiculously big.
But he didn't do it. Mm-hmm. And then they screwed him out of all the opportunities that he had. Millions and millions of dollars.
And the thing is, he's in jail, right? Or he was in jail for that.
He was in jail.
And now this lady that said it is not in jail.
Correct.
That's what doesn't make sense to me. Right. With all these situations that happen. Right. And I'm not saying that these situations are not happening, because they are. Right. But the ones that are faked, you need to put that person in jail for double the amount of time the other person was in jail.
And you wasted so much time from the government, from the police stations, everything. Mm-hmm. How is that not punishable? Mm-hmm. Even when people make a false police report, it's still not punished. Like, you are wasting time of someone who could be helping someone else, but instead you want to waste their time.
Yeah. It's sad, man. Again, we could sit here for hours and hours and talk about that stuff because it's crazy.
It is crazy.
The end of the day for this episode, Manti, I'm sorry. Yeah. And he still made a good amount of money. I think at the end of the day, it said a couple different sources say different things.
He's pretty well set off now.
I think it was like $10.4 million is what he ended up making. So
you can live off $10.4 million for the rest of your life.
100%. So he still did well. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it took away opportunity. It ruined his reputation, and it did cost him millions in draft stock. So,
unfortunately.
Yeah. So it's a sad thing, man. Make sure to go watch that if you guys haven't already. Shout out to the people that made that, because it's good to see the truth behind it. Right. But yeah, so that's episode 3, guys, on season 2 here. one thing I want to say before we end this off here is Landon and I are we talked a little bit about cornhole. I don't know if we have on here yet.
Kinda.
Maybe a little bit. We started a league, a 7-week league, where the 7th week is like the tournament.
Yep.
And we just went and played our first one last week Friday.
Yep.
And you have 5 games a week, and then it like seeds you and brings you up. Well, we outscored our opponents 105-6,
which is ridiculous.
Which is ridiculous. Out of 5 games, we gave them 6 points.
We scored legit 21 or more.
Yep.
If you counted like total.
Yeah, if you counted more, we scored over.
We scored over 105, but it was insane how well we did.
Yeah.
And I think we can continue to do well.
We should win that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna knock on wood right here.
Right. Not to discredit any of the teams that were there, because there were some actual good players.
Oh yeah, 100%.
The lady that you played, she was very good.
Mm-hmm.
But her partner was very bad.
Yeah. Well, and we were playing really well.
Yeah.
So it was, if we continue to do that, we should be fine, and I think we will be fine.
We got lucky with the singles guy.
Yeah.
Like I didn't mean to throw 7 points on him and beat him right away.
Yeah, we got paired our second game against a guy that didn't have his partner there. Yep. And if your partner can't show up one of those weeks, you start with an 11-0 deficit.
Yep.
So that kind of sucks for him too. But
and you weren't trying.
I was just throwing.
You gave him 3 points, or you scored 3 points.
Yeah.
So that made it 14, and I wasn't really remembering the score, but I
didn't remember we started with 11-0 lead either.
And I threw 7, and I was like, oh, so it's 10-0.
Yeah.
Nope, game over.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that's what I did. We had a little score thing, and I moved it up to 10, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And
he comes over and he's like, hey, good game, and I'm like, what? Oh,
right.
yeah.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, so we'll keep you guys updated on that situation
for sure
with our league, and hopefully we can take the dub on that. But yeah, thank you, Landon, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Season 2, episode 3. It was a good one. Yeah, we talked about a lot of stuff.
Well, yeah, a lot of stuff.
A lot of crap that's going on with cancellations, misconceptions, all that. So,
yep.
But yeah, guys, make sure to go tune into that and tune in to our next episode coming, and probably the next week or week and a half here.
For sure.
So, all right, Landon, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you guys for watching and listening.